Hello guys, welcome to this series on Python programming tutorial for beginners. Now before I continue, I would like to note that this series is geared towards beginners. Now if you are not a newbie, do not fear, I've got you covered. Very soon after this series, we're going to be I'll be releasing some advanced, intermediate to advanced series on Python, and we're going to be working on some pretty advanced projects together. Nevertheless, I would advise you to still go through this series. I'm sure you will pick up one or two things and refresh your memory. So let's get started. So what exactly is Python? Python is a general purpose high-level programming language. Python does not have a restriction to a particular aspect but can be used for a whole lot of things, develop a whole wide array of applications and used in various fields. Unlike a language like PHP, for example, PHP was made solely to be a server-side language for server-side web programming, but that is unlike Python. Python can be used in numerous areas: web, machine learning, data science, artificial intelligence, desktop applications, and so on and so forth. Now, Python was created by Dutch computer programmer Guido van Rossum in 1991, and Python is a very popular language used to develop many different types of applications. Even if you're a newbie in the development world, in the programming world, I'm sure you must or might have heard of Python, because Python is really one of those popular languages out there, like JavaScript, Java, C, etc. So why learn Python? Now, Python is very beginner friendly and easy to learn. Um, kids can pick up Python and learn Python because it is very easy. The syntax is not difficult, and it is general purpose. And as I explained rightly earlier, it can be used for a whole lot of things. Now, it is one of the fastest growing languages right there. The community keeps increasing. The number of developers that Python developers keep increasing, and then it is in high demand for job and a great career path due to its many applications. Python is a very good aspect to get started in your programming career. Now, characteristics of Python. Now, it is a high level language, that is, it is easier for humans to read. It has a syntax that's easier for humans to read, and it is also interpreted. So Python is an interpreted language, which means it runs through what we call an interpreter, and each line of code is executed and translated into machine code line by line. And it is also object oriented. Almost or everything in Python um, acts as an object, though we will still look into these in full details later on. And then it is dynamically typed. Now, I won't get into the explanation of this yet, but you should just know that these are basically the characteristics of Python, and which we are going to be looking in depth in the upcoming intermediate and advanced series. So what can you do with Python? There are a lot of things you can do with Python. There are tons and tons of applications you can develop with Python, and some of them include popular website and web applications such as Discourse, YouTube, Quora, Instagram, Pinterest, Spotify. You can even use Python for game development such as Star Trek, Bridge Commander, and etc. So there are tons and tons of things you can do with Python. So what are we going to learn in this series? Now, to make things easier for you, I've classified and divided it into three parts, and at the end of each segment or part, we are going to be executing at least two projects together. So in the first part, we're going to be looking at installation of Python and the tools we're going to need, the code editor. We're going to be looking at numbers and operators. So essentially, in this first part, we're going to be looking at data types and some very basic things. And then we're going to be looking at strings and string formatting, lists and tuples, dictionaries, and accepting inputs. Then we'll go to the part 2, in which we'll be looking at if statements. We'll be looking at loops, for loops, while loops. We'll be looking at ranges, sets, functions, variable scopes. And then in the part 3, we'll look at classes, the init function. We'll look at methods and attributes. We'll look at modules and packages. The math module, we're going to be taking at least 1 or 2 modules to work with them, so you will have a wider wider knowledge of what modules and packages are. And believe me, you're going to need to know them very much. And then we're going to be looking at Python regular expression or regex, and then we'll look at list comprehension, mapping and filters. We'll look at lambdas, decorators, and then we're going to look at file handling, how you can use Python to access your files on the system, on your computers, and read and write files. So without any further ado, let's get started and move on.